got it.
Your intro.
So we are back. We are back from the grave. No, I'm just being silly. This
Why
is
are we dead?
we died because we're demons.
Oh, true.
Um, so this is episode 12, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yes.
Episode 12. And last week we had on one of my demons, Atlas Talisman, and that was probably the longest episode we've ever recorded.
Yeah, that's 2.5 hours. That
Yeah.
was very naughty of us.
It was a long one, but you know what? I got some really beautiful feedback about it, so I'm really glad that we went to the places that we went to because
It had the largest first week plays yet.
Nice. There you go. Interesting. So anyway, this week on our podcast, I needed this today. We actually don't have a plan. We're going to ramble, scramble, and we're going to hope and trust that something that comes out of this episode is what you needed today.
Yeah, but I guess we do sort of have a plan. The plan is to recap.
We always have a plan. We always have a little plan in the back.
A little bit of a plan, but then also there's room for more. But I guess the last 2-3 episodes have been a very solid plan, where this one is I guess we're going to recap and see what has happened post having those conversations, what happens when we stir up and talk to our ex-demons and look at the places, look into the shadows, figure out through these conversations where we were the toxic one, revisiting the wounds of those relationships, how that affects our current relationships or any relationships moving forward, and any of the people that we may have reached out to that were ex-demons, that are ex-demons, that may have not been open to the ideas and our way of doing things.
Yeah, I love that because we were very fortunate that we both had exes who were willing to come and chat with us and, open up those vulnerable spaces. But there were also a lot of people who said no, we approached and weren't willing to go there. And, that's okay too. But I think that's also testament to some of the ways that maybe breakups haven't been so smooth and, and that happens as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of things to put into consideration when it comes to other people joining, their current relationships, unresolved things between us, wherever they are emotionally journeying. Everyone's not the I needed this today extraordinaires of sharing.
Not everyone is a social media slut.
Pretty much. So yeah,
isn't it funny?
Okay.
No, I was just gonna say, isn't it funny that a lot of people really value privacy, and I would say privacy is not a high value for me. Like I think I have learned that just by being in relationships, because some people really just dislike it. They don't want anyone knowing their business or anything. And for me, I'm just like, no, know it. You can ask me anything. I don't really have a big button on privacy. And it's just interesting, when you meet someone who has a value that's a complete opposite of yours, it can feel like, what's wrong with you? But it's just a different value.
Yeah. Well, that comes with someone that we've mentioned multiple times, is like a good friend of ours who passed away last year. And his main thing was like privacy. It was like the total opposite of us. And that was a part of what made him so prolific, that makes him so prolific, so valuable, so mysterious, so abundant in knowledge and how much you want his presence, is because of it's so hard to get. So that was something that I was definitely wanting from him, but this is just not me, is to as much as I try and be private, and definitely I've reined it back, but yeah, like the idea of being that mystique as a person and like really doing everything in private and really keeping all these things to myself, as cool as I think it is. And like, all my favorite artists such as like Andre 3000, Kendrick Lamar, like Erykah Badu, like all these people, some of the most prolific people that I really idolize and consider icons, Frank Ocean, like these are the people I look up to most, but I'm just the total opposite of like, it's,
Mm.
yeah, I want to be like them, but I'm just not.
You know, I totally get that, because for a long time I shamed myself for being too, too like, I guess yang is the word, that
Mm,
I feel like these people, the private, they're very yin, they're very like
yeah.
internal, maybe introverted, whatever. Whereas I'm very like, yeah, I want everyone to know my business, and I've been like at war with that part of me for a long time. And even this year, just working a lot on that with my coach. It's funny, really, and I think you probably feel this as well, the ways that you actually change and transform are by accepting those parts of yourself.
Mm-hmm,
Like,
mm-hmm,
ironically, the more I accept that I am just a very, and I reframe it as generous. For me, sharing my life is generosity, and generosity is one of my high values. And by accepting that part of me, I can be more private, because I'm not hating. It doesn't have the same charge anymore. I'm not wrestling with that part of myself. It's like, I get it. This is how I am. And it's different to everybody else. And it's got its own specialness. And therefore I don't need to push it out as much.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
100%. And it's so fascinating. We did come here with a topic to talk about, but here we are in a different area that I want to continue going down, is like being someone online. I could be quite extroverted. I'm sharing a lot and in real life, but to an extent, like for instance, when I went to ISTA and it was 2 straight weeks of like waking up, first class is at 7 o'clock and you can wrap up like 7 a.m. and wrapping up at midnight.
Damn.
You best believe that I ran out of juice very quickly for my tolerance for other people and my wanting to show up, and people also wanting that star energy from me. That, yeah,
Mm.
like I spent half of that retreat in like silence, as
Mm.
like I put my bandana over my mouth and I only spoke during class, but in lunchtime, even during class, I wasn't speaking because of it's just like I can't deal with this. And then, I'm someone I want to.
Just give me a
I've
second.
been watching.
I'm going to close this door. Hold up.
Yeah. Well, I'll just keep talking. Is I want to be on Survivor. Recently, I've got into Survivor,
You want to
and I
be
want
on
to.
Survivor? Yeah.
Yeah. I would be so epic, and I've always wanted to be on Big Brother, but I know there's an extent of me where that like big star energy, the one that wants to share and like take up space, is gonna go, okay, now I'm fucking sick of being that person and I need some time to reflect, and then I come back out. I need to like process all that I've done. But yeah,
Mm.
I was thinking about yeah, being on Survivor and being surrounded by these people. There'd be times where I'm just on that island, I'm like, all right, everyone get the fuck away from me. But you have to show up. You're on fucking reality TV. There's cameras following you everywhere, and they want, especially Survivor. That was, Big Brother is like, I don't know about these days, but it's crowd voted who stays each week. And then Survivor, when you get to the last three, it's everyone that's just been voted out previously that picks the winner. They're like, you played the best game, you were boring, you
Mm.
were just, everyone just dragged you along because you weren't a strong competitor, whatever it is. It's like, you've got to be, on your fucking toes. And
Mm.
that's a part of me is like, yeah, someone as that shows up online, I actually do really value my privacy and my introversion time as well.
Mm. I always wonder about reality TV shows, when you see them, and like, obviously we're only seeing like an hour of what they've filmed, however many hours, and you've got cameras constantly following you around. At what point do you stop, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Adapting your behavior or modifying your behavior because there's cameras around? At what point do you just forget, all right, and
Uh-huh.
you just
Uh-huh.
and then your normal side comes
Yeah.
out, and that's when
Uh-huh.
you get to see on like these reality TV shows, like these tantrums and like really shitty behavior, and you're like, dude, as if you would do that when there's a camera on you, but you
Yeah,
forget
but
so
you've
quickly.
just adjusted 100%. 100%. It's a massive thing that I want to do at some point in my life. Like, it's a big desire to go on some kind of, I just love the challenges and that, like, the psychology, especially like Survivor. Like, it's mind games and you have to be fake. You have to play
Ugh,
around with people and
yuck.
like you have to backstab and everything.
Ugh.
and because that's not who I am in real life, I would just love to throw myself in that situation. Yeah, there's we've talked about an earlier podcast. I do position myself and utilize my platform to reach to other people and climb a bit of a social ladder and make friends with influencers and whatnot. I think I'd be fucking amazing at
I think you'd be
Survivor.
great at it. You'd be great. I couldn't do it. I'm shit with competition. You know me, my ego is way too fragile for that. But you'd be great because you are very social and you know how to win favor, like you know how to persuade people and how to get people on your side. So you'd be great at it. I'd be the worst. But I want to go
Yeah.
on maths. That's my one. You go on Survivor, then I'll go on
Yeah.
maths.
Yeah. I said to Tim when he got me into watching maths, I'd go on it. I'd also like, I'd be a bit of appropriation because I'm not one, but like I'd love to be on RuPaul Drag Race just because it's so cool that they create all these like iconic outfits and they have these challenges where one day they're going to make a song, the next day they're going to do a comedy set. It's like I just want to be like creatively challenged and like
Mm.
possibly win a lot of money for it or like get some really good opportunities. Like sick,
Yes.
yeah. Pay me to do that, of course. But there's other sides to it. And yeah, I'm not a drag queen, so it'd be a bit of appropriation if I did that. But if there was like some kind of other, Australia's Next Top Model that was like that or something, who knows? But
But we always talked about this. Like we always talk about this idea once in our lifetime, of getting a house together with all our mates and just being
mhm,
creative for 3 months, just in that house and creating all sorts of scenarios that really push us to our limits
mm,
and streaming that,
yeah,
streaming
and
that whole
documenting it.
thing and just letting people get insight. What happens when you really push a group of creatives to the limit, maybe like no sun for like a week or something, or maybe like no
No
food
sun.
for a couple of days, no sleep, like just all
Yeah.
these different challenges that push you. Maybe like there's different drugs. It's like, all right, cool, we're going to do this drug on this week, we're going to do
Mm,
this the next week. Like I
mhm,
just
mhm.
think about all the cool potential art that can come about from it, and to be able to share that, like we could create our own reality TV show.
I want that. Yeah, I definitely want that. I feel like at Sunday it's going to be offered, someone's going to go hear it and go, okay, I'll fund it.
Well, should we tell the listeners that what's happening in 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah, you're moving in. You're moving in, which is just such a relief because right now we're even recording this podcast over Zoom, which I hate, but here we
Yeah.
are because
So
of
yeah, for
its
those of you listening,
lockdowns.
we're extreme. See, I've been thinking a lot about this over this week with a global pandemic, and there's lockdowns and there's different things happening, vaccines and whatnot. And I think the thing for me that's been most fascinating is you really get to see people's values. You
Mm,
really get to see very clearly not who we say we are, but who we actually are. And it's
mm,
moments like this where people reveal what they actually really value. And
mhm,
and I've been quite surprised by it at times to see people holding, certain things very close to them that they're afraid to let go of, or people who have made decisions to say, turn their back on like really good friends because of a difference in opinion or whatever. And I
mm,
think for me, it showed me that creativity and creating art and community is a supreme top tier value for me.
mhm,
Like,
mhm,
and I always think about like last year, I didn't do so well because I was starved of connection and starved of touch and intimacy. And this year, I have a lover that I can see. I have you as my best friend,
mhm,
and when I was like getting the feeling that lockdown's going to be extended, and
mhm.
then we had this conversation, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to move in with you so that we
Yeah,
can create art.
yeah. Yeah, they're so cool. Like I'm really excited and just constantly unlocking versions of creativity is on because all I want to do is create art and be able to put that out in the world. It's not all I want to do, but it's a big facet of it. It's a big slice of the pizza. Is Tim taught me how to use the camera, and
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures that you took. You're great.
It was so cool. And, it's been gained, like because of his eye is very much built in lighting and shadow. So I've just quickly picked that up. So then when he's like, here's the camera, this is what you do. And I was like, I just all this new level of like, oh my God, I can do all of this.
Mm,
And I got to, take photos of him because he's the one that's been creating and being behind the camera for us over the
mm,
last few months. But now to go, I have control of this. And, it's like, can we get a camera? And then he teaches you and then every day of the week, I can be like, hey, can you do a photo shoot for me? I do a photo shoot for you. Let's film some
yes.
things like just
Yeah.
that. Oh my God. Because right now we can still do that with phones and whatnot, but obviously the quality of a camera and just that's usually been the problem for you or I is like, I want to create these things. I don't have anyone to create it has the camera skills or whatever. But
Yes.
if you and I can just do a little crash course on either side. It's like, okay, I have this thing I need. Can you make that for me? Vice versa.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's the thing, because I think everyone these days is an independent artist, and
Oh yeah.
having the skills like to do it yourself is so important, but at the same time it is exhausting as well. It gets exhausting having to do every single part yourself. And I think being able to share skills and share resources, and
Mm-hmm.
at least create for yourself a little support network of people who can help you with things, for me that's been so crucial. Like having you, having Tim, having a
Mm-hmm.
little team, because I can't do everything myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can learn certain things and you can learn certain things from me, and we can skill swap.
Yep.
But I think that's like the myth of like being independent, thinking that you have to do everything by yourself. It's fucking recipe for exhaustion and fatigue. You can't.
100%. 100%.
I
Yeah,
feel
so I'm
for I
looking
feel for
forward.
people. Oh, sorry, go for
Okay.
it.
As I said, I'm just looking forward to all the art that is going to come out and be put out into the world when you do move in here.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I was just saying, I feel for people who
Oh no,
right
your
now.
mic has gone weird all of a sudden.
Oh, what?
It's like gone a bit robot-y. Speak again?
Can you hear me now?
No, it's a bit weird.
Let me have a look at what's.
And we're back.
All right, we're back. I was just talking about how many creatives, artists right now, I'm sure around the world, different countries are in different stages of this pandemic, but those who are in isolation, for those creatives who live alone, already we can be quite introverted and we can be quite sensitive, I guess,
Mm,
and to
mm.
be locked down, to not have live music, to not be able to have your social networks in the same way, it puts a lot of stress on a person. And I think a lot of people, a lot of artists, unfortunately, are really succumbing because they
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's too many things that are holding me back. Like I can't do anything anymore. Like there's too many suppressors, like too many, challenges, too many burdens, too many hurdles. And after a
Yep.
while, it's like, fuck it, what's the point? It's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people throughout this time, unfortunately, will creatively die. A lot of people
Yeah.
will thrive and will pivot and will evolve and find ways, but a lot of people will die. And that's really fucking unfortunate.
Something that I found super inspiring, even though I wasn't like overall a fan of it, but I don't know if you've seen that Bo Berman.
I did, Bo
Um,
Burnham. I saw it the other day.
yeah, like I conceptually and like visually, like overall, I really liked it, but I just wasn't for me personally. But I
Okay.
liked the drive, the artistic expression, the like him just create it. Like it was an epic piece. Like he
Mm.
made something very special and very unique and all on his own. I thought that was so inspiring.
Yeah.
The flavor of it and like his personal way of delivering art wasn't personally for me,
Hmm.
but I really respected it and it really inspired me. Like to
Yeah,
go,
it was very
wow, like
inspiring.
created this masterpiece. This, for anyone that's listening, Burnham has a Netflix. Is that Burnham? I don't know.
Burnham, but yeah,
Burnham.
I like Burnham. That's hilarious.
Well, that's the two words put together. Created a Netflix special called Inside, which is like a comedy, singing, weird special that's on Netflix. Go check it out if you are a creative, or if you, everyone is a creative in my opinion, but yeah, it might inspire you to go, oh, I can create things on my own. He does obviously have a lot of gear, but that's a big thing as well. Like being working with Tim and having all these lights handy, like everyone listening can't see, but my studio office right now is like super beautifully lit, looks great, and I just enjoy that. And now I use that to inspire different things that I can create. Oh shit, I have these extra lights, and it's like, I want to buy all this gear. Fuck having to hire it for these certain occasions. Like right now I have a smoke machine over there, I have UV lights over there, I have these color lights, this color light, I have all this gear. It's like I can create so much cool art now, like more possibilities.
Yeah, totally. And like always to like offer the flip side, because I feel like that's what we do together.
Yes.
I think a lot of times artists think that you need heaps of shit to create, but it's, in my experience anyway, limitation is often the best encouragement for creativity. Like it's the best ways that we get to push ourselves and come up with new ideas and innovate, because we have to. When you're under like stress, as in like, it's almost like, all right, you're in the confines of these parameters, these rules, like you have to find the freedoms in there. And I think this is a time where you get to exercise your creative muscle, because you are limited right now. We all are. There's only so much that we can do. There's all these rules and we have to abide by the rules. But you could either say, oh, well, there's all these rules and I can't do anything, which is total bullshit. But if you say that, then yeah, you won't create, and you'll literally sit there and watch Netflix until the pandemic is over, which is that is not a guarantee. There's no guarantee that the pandemic is going to be over. Like, I've been asking myself lately, if the pandemic is here to stay, and if this is the new normal, how do I need to adapt and how do I need to evolve in order to keep thriving as an artist? Like, what do I need to learn? How do I need to create in this new way so that I don't feel trapped and stuck? And I think there are always freedoms within the limitations. And I think actually where we die creatively or spiritually is where we don't exercise those freedoms. Like if you are allowed to go to the park, but you don't do it, you don't go.
It's on you.
It's on you, exactly. And you can use the excuse of like, oh, but I was so depressed and so this and that. It's like, well, yeah, okay. But also like no one is going to show up for you and hold your hand. Like you got to have that spark of life force that inspires you to actually make the most of your life. And I sound a bit like Tony Robbins now, but hey, that's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at.
Go people. Yeah. And like, in that frame of creativity, like, I speak about all these lights and smoke machine and stuff that I got here. In actuality, things like that have got the biggest feedback, things that have got the most shares, things that have generated the most clients for me, so I can continue to work, I can continue to have time to create, is like, during the lockdown, one of the posts I did was just like, it's just literally, I stuck a few flower petals around my eye, used the pollen across my eyelid, and like filmed myself blinking a couple times. And it was just like, what if men were pretty, And I got so many shares. And like another one was just like, got some flowers from my backyard, put them in my undies, and was like, cocks can be beautiful. Like this is it takes a little moment to think, put this and this together, but it's very simple ingredients to creating something that makes an impression on people, that inspires people, that has a message and generates more revenue for me. Is like, that I didn't use any fancy lighting. I used my phone. Like it was quite simple, but it was just like, and it was all in the confine, like, I'm privileged to have a big backyard. Not everyone has that, but I'm sure you can go for a walk around your block and pinch a couple flowers and do something cool with them, And that's just what I happen to do.
That's it. And it's about using what you have. Like that really is the big key. Like, use what you have. If you only have one thing, use that. Use what you already have, because so many artists, because we both coach artists and creatives. So I see the same stories coming up again and again. Some of my clients, when they're starting out their entrepreneur journeys, or when they start out coaching or whatever it is they're doing, there's always this story that they run where it's like, oh, I can't yet because I need this first. I need this first. It's like, oh, I got to make my website. Oh, got to set up this thing. It's like they always feel like they need to have something before they can go and do the thing. But actually, like that's it's not actually true. Like certain things, sure, you might need, maybe you need one thing, but you never really need as much as you think you need to get started. And if you just fucking start, and if you just start somewhere, start doing it, then it will become very clear what the next thing that you need is. But you can't try and prepare everything perfectly and then expect that it's going to happen for you. It doesn't work like that.
Well, it's always the frame. It's not have, do, be. It's be, do, have.
Exactly. You don't
be
need to have
be the artist, do the things the artist does. Then you get to have the things the artist gets to have, rather than I need the best mic, I need the best programs, I need this, that, and this. It's like, no, you need to be someone that represents an artist, and then you got to do is write the songs and record it at any extent. Like if you have, you're probably listening to this on an iPhone or some kind of smartphone or on your laptop that has a good speaker and good mic, like that's decent, and I'm a person that listens to a lot of hip hop. We're still in the wave of a lot of SoundCloud rappers who they record their stuff off their phone. They have unfinished verses. They have it's not mixed, it's not mastered. And people, that's a certain aesthetic, that's a certain wave of artistry that people are actually into and prefer. And now a lot of mainstream artists are like, oh, this little guy, Little Peep or Triple X Tentacion, they're blowing up off not mixing their shit. I think I'm going to release this record unmixed because that's the sound people are into right now, or whatever it is like, you've just got to make it work. And sometimes it picks up. People are like, fuck, this is a vibe, this very raw expression.
It's about your essence. I think that, it's a key in life in general. Actually, funny enough, like we're in level 7 at the moment of Royalty Rising, and that's my spiral program. And level 7 is you're kind of at the top of the mountain at this stage, and so like the themes are like purpose and, all the big existential themes. And I was talking to the girls about it yesterday, and I was saying like, really, it's about how much of your spirit or how much of your life force can you put in this life of yours, in this body, in this like game that you're playing in this planet. How much of your essence can you put into everything that you do? And that's what we feel when we look at the artists that impact us the most. We don't sit there, I mean, some people do, but I don't sit there listening to Prince or whoever and going, oh, it's the mix on the this, it's the way. It's like, no, I'm there listening for the spirit and the soul and the essence and like how much I feel it. And it's those qualities of an artist that we really just want to be moved. We really just want to be impacted by art. And I think, that's the quality of the communication. Is about how much do I feel impacted or moved by this. And if I don't feel it, it doesn't matter how technical it is or how much fucking gear or equipment was used. If I don't feel it, I don't feel it.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing, for me to also always remember. I still have times where I can't create. I also get caught up in this story, but I just have luckily community around me and influence around me that just constantly goes, nah, just shut up and do it, so
you got to start, because I think like the creative process is never an individual process anyway. I don't believe it anyway. Even if you are creating something by yourself, to me, my experience of creating is that it's always a collaboration with life. You might have an idea, an intention, a picture in your mind of what this painting or this song or this video clip or whatever it is that you're creating. You've got an idea in your mind of what it's going to look like and what you want it to be like. But as soon as you start, life comes in and life starts like, you'll have a challenge, you need to pivot, or you'll have like this other thing, or this something will fall through, or some new idea pops in. And then as you continue creating, it becomes a collaborative process with life. And you got to be open to that. If you stay fixed, like too fixed and too rigid in your original idea, then it doesn't have life in it. You know, you have to give enough space for life to inform your creation as well.
Watch me seamlessly transition. And in what ways has life interacted with you as of recent after our creative projects of Ex Demon podcasts?
Love that. Love that. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone listening to this has listened to at least one of the Ex Demons podcast episodes where we interviewed a couple of our exes, our demons, our old flames, and we recapped our relationship journeys, which is, you know, that's a life collaboration, to be in partnership with someone, to be in relationship with someone. And yeah, so I guess we did have a loose idea of recapping some of the lessons and some of the gems that came out of those episodes, and kind of going over that. Maybe what we can start with is impactful moments of the interviews that we did, or the conversations that we had. What were the impactful moments for you?
The first impactful moment, which is sort of not in the podcast, but from the podcast, is like being in a relationship where I'm, you know, quote unquote, allowed to do that, you know, to like publicly talk about my previous relationships and with my ex-partners, where like that is allowed. That it's because a lot in society is like your ex is, you know, this is a part of what we talked about, is like you're not allowed to talk to your ex. It's stupid that you want to unpack these things, rah, rah, rah. Is that between Tim and I, Tim's like, you know, you do you, you know, and then he has his own process around it all. But it's like, I'm not silencing you from exploring this stuff and doing it publicly. And just that, you know, there's a form of doing the work by doing these podcasts, but just also seeing like, oh, I'm in a very beautiful, secure relationship where it's okay to call upon someone that I had a bond with and still have a bond with in a certain way. That's okay. You know, that like, one, I'm doing a podcast altogether with an ex-partner, and then also, yeah, having another person on that is an ex-partner to an extent, where he's like, that's okay. That's and just like really taking a moment to feel super grateful for that is something that feels impactful in recapping those experiences for me. That is the first thing. That I also just want to acknowledge, like whether he hears this or not, that just for listeners is like, that's something that is being discussed, and you know, it's not like I'm just seamlessly doing it. I'm checking in, he's checking in, there's conversations around things moving through, but in the end it's like you're allowed to be you. It's just really nice. That. So that was impactful.
I think it does require a certain level of emotional maturity and a certain level of like you said, security in the relationship, but also in the individuals, to be able to explore, you know, the conversations that we have and the kind of friendships that we have. I don't think everybody is willing to have that. I mean, you know, last episode when we were chatting with Atlas, I definitely, and I have before, I've exposed a lot of my toxic traits when in relationship. You know, I definitely haven't always had an easy relationship with jealousy and possessiveness and, you know, those things. And I haven't always been a very safe person to be in relationship with. And, you know, that's just a fact. And I don't feel ashamed about it. But I also think that it's, you know, you can carry a level of self-compassion and be compassionate toward yourself for the fact that certain traumatic events in your life have created, you know, anxiety and trust issues and whatever. At the same time, it's not a justification, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue working on yourself. And I think with you and I, we've seen we are continuously trying to stabilize our nervous systems and continuously trying to expand beyond the limitations of what we knew, and what we've been conditioned to believe. And then that reflects in the relationships that we get to have. Every time we get into a relationship with someone, every time we have a new love affair, a new partner, it reflects the growth and the work that we've done. And I think that's a really beautiful marker of personal success.
Yeah, 100%. I would say, I also want to make it clear in saying that, my gratitude that there was also within this moments of instability, navigating this, especially things going on outside the relationship, outside of the podcast, in our relationship, and then me coming off the back of the podcast, especially the one with Phoenix, and something having stirred me, and then bringing that to Tim before it came out, and me not, my nervous system isn't all the way regulated, so I probably didn't communicate it the best. And then that, started to, we had to unpack a bit more, but overall we got there and it was good. But definitely one that stirred me a bit with Phoenix. Two of the things was, one, him apologizing for that moment of being like, hey, I didn't tell you this, this was and that was very brave and honest and noble of him to go, I'm going to own up to this here. And especially live in front of, not live, but recorded publicly, and other people going, whatever people may or may not judge. That hit me okay, that's an unbeknownst thing to me that I'm hearing and processing right now, live or on audio, to people that are going to hear. And also with a level of this is my podcast, I have to continue to facilitate this in a certain manner, even though you were the mediator, in real time moving through something. And the other one was around the toxic traits, is owning that part of creating boundaries that were Paisley leaning, and then just facing that, and then going, okay, that's something that I want to bring and be more wary of. And, part of my intention with the podcast was I want to learn about how to be better in relationships. So I was hey, I, had this really, to Tim, hey, I had this really highlighted to me. I want to bring this awareness into our relationship, that this has been pointed out as a thing that I can do. I want to really create room to see if you feel that in any way right now in our relationship, and also maybe some language and tools and things that are needed moving forward if that comes up and you feel I'm creating things that are not equal.
Beautiful.
So those are two of the more impactful moments for me.
I love that. It's so funny because obviously you guys have been together now for 6 months, 7 months, something like that.
6 and a bit months.
6 and a bit months. And I think this is probably one of your more I guess it's seems on the outside anyway, a very stable relationship that doesn't have a lot of drama in it. So, I just expected because Tim just seems fuck yeah. I remember on that podcast that we did, he was I don't really have very many jealous bones in my body. And I was oh, that's so nice.
That's so nice. It's really nice, but it's also it makes me a little insecure in a manner of just that that being so unfazed by things of
do you even care?
And I know he cares because he really shows it, but there's that part in my brain that's he doesn't care, he should be jealous or whatever, and I'm be quiet. He shows that he cares in other ways. You know, he doesn't have to show through jealousy. And I think it's because I've previously experienced jealousy that it's like that's my way of learning that someone has cared. Yeah, in previous experiences. And usually I'm more of the nonchalant, easygoing, not jealous person, but I think he's got that more down pat than me. So it's like thinking in a binary way of like, oh, well, then if he's the more secure one, that makes me the insecure one. Yeah. Rather than us both being secure and not jealous. It's like, well, yeah, binary thinking.
Yeah, I love that. No, I get what you mean, where like if somebody is more skilled or has a strength somewhere, it's so easy to just put yourself on the other side of, well, then I must be this then. It's like, it doesn't work like that. I remember, actually, it's funny. I remember when I think I was dating Zulu at the time. Oh, we weren't going to name drop. Fuck it. It's just done now.
Hypothetically, say I was dating someone called Zulu at the time.
Well, because I remember when I was dating Atlas, like
another name drop straight off the bat after that.
Look, okay, I'll start again. Well, all I mean to say is that different people bring out different qualities in you, like highlight different aspects of you. And you could think that you're the most fucking laid back person. I don't get jealous, blah, blah, blah. Then boom, you end up in a relationship with someone who, for whatever reason, and I've talked about this before, but the combination of you two just highlights aspects of your personality that have you questioning who the fuck you are. It's like, this is not who I am. I'm not this person. It's crazy, right? Because even this year, and you know this, I dated someone this year who literally just pushed all my crazy buttons, all of them, right? And every conversation I'd have with you, you'd be like, have you put him in the bin yet? I'd be like, no, I haven't put him in the bin yet.
Yeah, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what's going on here?
It was so absurd. Nobody else that I dated this year, because I dated a lot of people this year, nobody else did that to me. Right now I'm seeing someone and I don't have that. It's just like, for whatever crazy reason, the crazy button just got pushed. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, what's wrong with me? I thought I'd healed this. So funny.
Yeah. What was the bigger things that came up for you with across those 3 episodes? What was the most impactful moments?
Wow. Well, I just wanted to say first off that I really appreciated how willing Phoenix was to process and unpack in real time as well. And actually like really be vulnerable and really speak so eloquently and so openly about what was happening. And, you know, I know that would have been challenging and it's extremely exposing to have those really important and significant conversations on a podcast. You know, it's not like we're sitting in a room talking to each other. So that was just beautiful to witness. It was really beautiful to witness. And, you know, obviously, you know, it's funny because both of our guests, Atlas and Phoenix, are both poets. So some of the words that they were speaking and some of the wisdom and the poetry, it was so just exquisite. You know, if you watch back those episodes, it's almost like there's too much beauty to understand how profound they are.
Yes.
Because it's just like the way they speak is just like beautiful ideas and concepts and metaphors and, you know, and it's so gorgeous.
I want to just quickly pull up a message which I haven't replied to, but I was like, oh, how are you feeling after our conversation the other day? And he was like, said something, I feel like this should be all right to share because it's nice. He's like, I feel really great about the podcast being out. Some people have interacted with me about it after listening. It showcases so much of who I am and has so much honesty in it. It feels awesome to have myself so clearly communicated for people to take in. And yeah, that's essentially what you're saying is like, yeah, he really showed up in such a clear and beautiful way, which I enjoyed that. He got that platform.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, your mic's fucked up again. And we're back.
All right. So look, I don't know what this is going to sound like later, but I've been having some technical difficulties. So if there's strange periods of, I don't know, clicking out, that's me. Anyway, impactful moments. So yeah, just the poetry of it all. And I also just love, I don't think that I don't think that we are the best in love and relationships, but I do think that compared to society's normal, I think we do relationships really well in the way that we are more dedicated to love and to life than to the rules of relationship. And I think that really for me is what made me really proud of the conversations that we've had, in everything that we shared and everything that our demons shared. You could tell that the loyalty that we have is not to the construct that I have of you, the ego, the ownership of you, and all that stuff. Like, the loyalty that I have for you is that infinite, unkillable part of you that is love. Like, that's what I'm loyal to. And I think that really comes across.
Yeah, and that's what really, obviously understanding, but two of the other people that I reached out to, I was so, I thought it was a slim chance of both of them, not because of our relationship, but because just where they are in life. But I really wanted to continue just to like show this like deep loyalty and ways that of doing work, and these two other people that I wanted to get on, like they are very dedicated to doing the work. How profound we like of an experience of audio journey of relationship and breakups and bonds, like overall this like level of soulmate like connection that I feel like I have with both of these other people could have been conveyed, but unfortunately they weren't available to do it. But yeah, that was something I deeply yearned. And also I wanted to be able to get on some female people, because now we've had Tim, we've had Phoenix, and we've had Atlas as guests, and in time we will get other people such as Nadine on. But yeah, just it would have been really nice to, one, if you could have had one of your previous female partners, and if I could have had female partners, just to see the ways maybe that would have been a different conversation. Regardless, every relationship would have been different, but just how these different dynamics, because we had two male and one female to male experiences.
I definitely think it would have been nice. And I did reach out, but they weren't comfortable. I have to accept responsibility for that as well. If maybe I haven't always, fostered enough trust and safety for them to say yes. And, I'm okay with that. I know obviously everybody has their own autonomy, and I get it. Some people just aren't willing. It's totally fine. But that would have been lovely. And I'm sure I don't know, I feel like we're going to have lots of opportunities for bringing some cool people on this podcast, because we are very lucky in that we're surrounded by epic people in our community who do amazing things.
Yeah, I feel like there's, and like even doesn't mean the Ex Demons conversation can't have again in the future with people if they ever feel ready or right or whatever. Like, just because of we are doing it in theme with your single being out right now, it doesn't mean that that's just a limited time only conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think like it was really beautiful to have those opportunities for our exes to come on and imbue so much wisdom and beauty to everyone who's been following this journey. And I'm excited to, kind of see the evolution of the following episodes and where we go from here, and like what different pockets we can open up. I'd love to start talking about more mystical and magical experiences that we've had. I think that's something, that I'm always very passionate about. And we kind of started going there last week with Atlas. It started getting, off into the ether and the cosmic realm. I'd like to open up things like that, because you and I have had amazing experiences with life and those crazy, magical, miraculous times where it's like, whoa, life is magical. I'd love to lean into that.
Maybe when you move in here, we can have like a mushroom trip episode where we just go off on the most.
Can we?
Yeah.
No, that would be so cool. Remember that last mushroom trip where I wrote all that poetry and I was just sending, like barraging everyone with poetry. I'm so
Yeah.
extreme.
Yeah, well, that's what I'd love to see how that translates because I know when on and like that moment of like when you're on psychedelics and you're messaging me and whatnot, and you're sending all this poetry, I'm like, this only resonates with me because I've tripped before, but like my sober self, I have no clue what you're talking about. This is very cryptic, but I'm sure to you means 1,000% like clarity, like directly from God. Like, but to me, I'm like, these words look really pretty and they feel like something nice, but I
But you're not
literally
saying
have
anything.
you're not saying anything to me, and I just love to see like for us to record an episode where that's like an hour or two or three of that, and then putting that out to the world, and also listening back ourselves to go,
Yes.
what the fuck were we on about, and just seeing how much I can translate to people.
That's so funny though, because I really felt like, you know, and you always feel like you have insight into truth when you're on drugs, and it's like, whatever. But the biggest piece that I took away from that particular mushroom journey was like the metaphor of my life as a poem written across people. That was like the big, you know, the big, beautiful, poetic revealing. It was like, my life, I am a poem. It
You
is a
are, yeah, that's what
poem.
you're saying. Yeah,
It's
you're
like, I'm a
saying
poem being written across people. It's like when I die, all of these people are going to have different parts of that poem, different stanzas, you know, of the same poem. It was like so beautiful and poetic.
yeah, and I remember like, oh fuck, I wish I could pull up the um I wish I could pull up the conversation. So um
It's
what you're
fine.
saying to me because it was so fucking trippy. I wish I could recap it to people, but
Well, the
yeah.
thing is, because you know what I think also partly what a
Wait,
lot
here we
of
go. I found it. I found it. Wait,
you
wait, 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 wait. Uh, It could be nothing. Just surfing threads of chaos, a clutch of pearls. I am writing a giant poem across people. I am only here to be consumed as art, and I know you will laugh at my joke. It's the only way in. You'll have to collect the pieces, but some are hidden. Sometimes I want to die so that it'll be important enough to find the truths buried inside people. Maybe people will care about the way I saw things one day, but I'm still alive, and that's a sad, beautiful story. Nobody will ever get the whole poem because it doesn't end. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me in my brain.
And
Yeah.
there's bits and pieces that I get, but I just out of nowhere, you're like just saying that like for instance, I know you'll laugh at my joke. I was like, where was the joke? Like I thought you were about to tell me a joke, or is the
Right.
poem a
Yeah, no,
joke? I
it's
was
all
like,
a
what is
joke. I am a joke. It's so, you know what? One of the things, so there is an ex that I am extremely unresolved around currently and still like really fucking holding on to some shit around. But the one thing that I need to be grateful for is that I did mushrooms with them for the first
They
time.
they got you into mushrooms. I remember,
Yeah.
I was with you before this person, and when they got you onto it, I personally thanked them because you were like anti psychedelics, anti like just drugs altogether,
Yeah.
plant medicines, whatever you want to call it. And then when you're like, I had this most profound experience, I was like, you get gold stars, my friend.
That was probably the only good that came from that relationship. Yeah, no, that's really bitchy to say. Look, obviously, I'm still unprocessed around it. Actually, you know what? I wrote something the other day. I want to read it. It's not a
Go.
mushroom. It's not a mushroom piece. It was on ex demon stuff.
Mm, mm.
So I stalked. You know, one of the things that you do. Someone that I have unresolved stuff around. I stalked their social media. And I just felt the fire, just flames went up inside me. And I just wrote this little piece. And I'll just read it out. It says, "Look, I've tried, okay? I can't help it. I still hate you. When I think about you, my heart turns inside out. I feel fire in my eyes and I picture myself strangling you, mashing your face in with my bare hands. You make me feel violent. When I think about your happiness, I feel enraged. You don't deserve any happiness. You don't deserve to have a voice and say all the woke and conscious shit you say when I know you're full of shit. I want to expose you for the piece of trash you are." And I could go on and on. This fury is a fuel that doesn't seem to run out, but I take a breath and then another. And I ask myself, why am I so angry? What could possibly drive me to feel such deep hatred? And the answer is always the same, because I still care, because I love you. Hate is only love's shadow. And it's easier to hate you than to open my heart to the vulnerability and grief of losing you. The suffering I feel when I choose to believe that you don't love me, that I mean nothing to you. In these moments, I remind myself that hate can't exist without love. I remind myself that trying to love you won't work. It's like trying to get rid of a shadow by shining extra light when the problem isn't the light. It's what's in the way. It's what's obstructing the light. And just that thought alone is enough to soothe this angry, wounded lion. I hate you because I love you. And when I'm brave enough to turn toward the love instead, to feel that sun on my face again, then I can heal. There you go. That one's the psychedelics of betrayal.
ALPHAMAMA single coming soon called "Hate You, Love You."
Yeah. Well, there is a track on the
platform.
album called "Hate You, Love You."
Yeah.
So yeah. I think, you know, one thing, this is a bit unrelated, but kind of related. I think I've learned that even hate, anger, all of the quote unquote bad emotions, you know, like I don't think there is such thing as bad emotions. It's just passion. I think it's passion. It's like they're all just different colors or expressions of love. And when we don't judge them, even hatred, like I don't judge that I feel hatred.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's just one of like the denser expressions of my love. Particularly it comes up and it gets activated when I feel like I don't have the right to love you, or when I feel like I'm not allowed to love you, or when I you know, there's all of these like obstructions to the love that I want to give to you. And I think just being able to recognize that is also a form of love that is okay. To just say like, yeah, I get fired up because I'm passionate, you know, and sometimes that love gets distorted and it turns into these fiery flames, but it's still love. I think that is just enough to kind of like chill me the fuck out.
Oh yeah, like especially that passionate, fiery energy. It's not something that I often in. The other day, I was going for a run with Acacia, and I'm running across this bridge, and then I come over to the other side of the park, and I run with Acacia without a lead. I keep a lead on me in case I need it, but we go for runs without a lead. And there's this massive guy, like huge, 2 or 3 times the size of me, like fucking built to shit. And he's in the park sitting on a bench with who I assume is his girlfriend, a bit older than me as well. I'm running, and as I'm running across the bridge of Acacia, he's staring at me, just staring. I was like, what's this guy looking at? And then as I run past, he's like probably like 20 meters away as I run past, and then I get about 50 to 100 meters away, and I hear him go, "Oh, you fucking idiot." And it's as I'm running away, I'm so far away, and I'm like, what do you fucking say? You know, and I'm not one to fight and whatnot, but I turn around and I just like dead start walking towards him. He's, you know, like size wise, it looks like he'll probably kick my ass. But I can't deal with this lack of integrity, this like cowardice, like swearing at me. And I walk straight up to him. I socially distance because I didn't want to go up in his face. But I get right up next to him and I was like, "What'd you say, mate?" And he's like, "Oh, there's kids in this park and your dog's loose." And I was like, "I don't see a kid anywhere, but I did hear you say, 'you fucking idiot.' And I want you to say it to my face." And he's like, "No, it's just your dog." I was like, "My dog is friendly as shit. As you see right now, I'm holding him from wanting to play with you." I was just like, "Look at your girlfriend right now. She's facing the opposite way. And you, what I assume, were trying to be tough in front of her. You are double, maybe triple the size of me. And I'm up in your face and you're cowering away from me." I was like, "Be a fucking man and own what you got to say. And don't be a coward that says something behind my back."
Oh my God.
I was like, "I'm not going to fucking fight you, but you need to learn some respect and learn how to be a man and don't be a fucking coward."
Whoosh.
Like, "Oh, sorry." And then I was like, "Have a good day, mate." And then
Wow.
continued running. And I was like, "Oh my God, that felt so good to just like run some of that." Like, because this is often what I just want to say to people when I see them being fucking losers like that, but I don't. I hold my tongue. But I was like, "You know what? Fuck this cunt." Like he must do that to so many people, and he's done it to me because I'm smaller than him. But I know this guy is a coward, so I'm gonna go up and face him and show him, and also show his girlfriend that he's a fucking coward. And I felt so good. I was so fired up, and I went and put that energy into my work. It was like, I didn't want to fight him. I wanted to give him that integrity piece, but it wasn't like from a place of malice. It wasn't from a place of like, I'm better than you. It was more like, it's like, say it to my face, like if you're going to do it, do it. And then now I get to run that anger. And I think also that gets a bit stored up with me around Acacia, because sometimes people can be really weird around him, which I get because he's a massive dog. He's running off the lead with me, but he doesn't have a bad bone in his body.
A lot of people are scared of dogs, especially in the area that you live in.
Yeah, especially I live in a very an area of people that have come from different countries where there's a lot of stray dogs that can be quite scary. But at the same time, don't call me, don't.
I get it.
Behind my
I
back.
get it.
So I ran that similar energy you had with this ex-partner, and it just felt amazing. I felt very passionate, and I got to run that energy elsewhere.
And then did you steal his girlfriend? You're like, "Come on, baby, let's go home. Let me rescue this. Let me rescue you."
Yeah, I felt terrible for her because she was like facing the other way and was like, you could see she's like shaking her head like, why, And there's still this moment of like, this guy looked like he lives a life of being a tough guy and hanging around with tough guys, and I'm just waiting for the day, because I can't even remember what he looks like now because it wasn't that important to me. And I have a bit of a distinct look at times, so I'm like just waiting for the day where it's him and a bunch of the other bros that want to this is what I'm assuming. Now you want to be tough. So that is, definitely something that's in my awareness. That is definitely a risk that I had to take I chose to take in that moment of like, this could come back, because I'm characterizing this person as a certain person that might, in a different circumstance, roll up on me. But
because you live in the hood.
Because I live in the hood, but yeah, it'd been a while since I've put on that, like, because as a kid I loved to fight and like cause trouble, and it was nice to do that again.
I know what you mean. There is definitely a pleasure in disruption, disruption energy. Like I've been that person as well. Like oftentimes with me, it's like with catcalling or like things like that. Like I have so many stories of, walking past and a man will say something inappropriate or do something inappropriate. Like I've straight up slapped people in the face before. That's when I didn't have a lot of tact when I was younger. But, now that I'm older, like I feel like I know how to pull people up in a much more centered way and still get what I want, get the apology and get them to like understand what they're doing is wrong, but without bringing too much aggressive energy. But I know that sometimes, like, especially when you're driving in a car, that's like when the rage turns on.
Mm.
There's a certain pleasure in activating the anger and rage and aggression and like feeling it in your body. Like there is like a real pleasure in that. And like that sometimes, like in the piece that I just read you, like sometimes the idea of being really violent turns me on.
Oh
Like
yeah. Yeah.
it's a part of my human nature that I don't get to really run anywhere in my life. And so when that feeling of like whoo, turns on, it could be I'm defensive or whatever, maybe like there's some injustice that I'm passionate about. When it turns on in my body, like the feeling, like thinking about running this energy and destroying things feels really good.
Yeah, there's a few things that brings up for me. So like, yeah, I love that feeling of being put into that position and feeling that fire and wanting to get that defense because of living in this quote unquote woke world where it's like, you know, I'm constantly, if I'm angry, I'll scream into a pillow or I'll do some clearing tools or whatever. But sometimes it just feels really good to just throw that at someone. Like, you know, we discovered in the Ex Demons podcast where there was a moment where I told Phoenix, you know what, fuck you. And nothing, that felt so amazing, you know, in my body. Same with this guy. And you bring up this car situation. That is one of my biggest fucking triggers is people that feel so tough in their cars. I've had so many situations on my own where someone's behind me and I'm at a green light and like it's like gone green for 1 second and they beep and I get out of my car and walk over to the person. I'm like, yes, like what? Get out of your car and be that tough. Why? Just because you're in a car, do you feel so fucking tough? I really, and I've been in cars with people when they get this road rage and they're like, all of a sudden, this totally different person. I'm like, whoa, like who are you? This is so like because you're in a car, you feel so much more like swearing at people and going off it. It's a big like it wigs me out really hard that people feel tougher in cars.
Well, I think it's a similarity with internet trolling and abuse because you feel protected in your car. You feel like, oh, no one's going to come jump in my car and harm me. So you have this armor on, which gives you this sense of like bravado because you don't feel vulnerable. You are invulnerable, right? And it's the same with like being fucking keyboard, you know, behind the screen and being able to like troll people and be really aggressive or call people out or whatever you want to do because you feel like no one can get me. You know, I'm sitting here in my room and you don't know where I am. It's like that, you know, and I think like it makes me think, well, I mean, now I'm just drawing all sorts of parallels, but like, you know, if you have an army, if you're a nation with an army and you have this huge military, you're going to be really audacious, aggressive. You're going to do things, make decisions that you wouldn't make if you were vulnerable, right? So sometimes when we have all this armor and protection, it actually does highlight those parts of our humanity that are, you know, a bit, well, not so favorable. Let's just put it that way.
I'm fired up about this topic, so I'm going to call it cowardice, and that's that's one of my biggest triggers, and that really pisses me off. Is like, yeah, same with the internet. Like, you know, I can be quite the feminine man and adapt to all this like wokeism and like this new age language and whatnot, but still like cowards on the internet and cowards in their car is what I'm labeling them is like that just pisses me off, you know, like and it's, I know this is something you're very passionate about is confront, you know, and for instance, like I've been over this last week, no, I'm going to use a different example, but there's been moments where people have said things to me on the internet and then I'm like, hey, you said this thing to me on the internet. Now I'm bringing it to you in real life. And they're like, oh, no, I didn't mean that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, coward, you know, like no confront, own how you felt in that moment and what you wanted to say to me.
Backpedaling.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, I feel you. No, I feel you on that. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. I think there's like, you always respect the person more, even if they did overreact. And even if they did like, you know, go too far, whatever, if you confront them and they like hold their ground, There's
Oh,
more respect there. It's like, yeah, I
respect.
said that. Yeah, I said that. Yeah, I said it. I meant it. All right. Maybe I was reactive and blah, 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 but I said it and I meant it rather than, oh, no, I didn't mean it. It's like you betray yourself when you do shit
Mm-hmm.
like that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh, where's your integrity? You're not backing yourself. To me,
Mm-hmm.
that's like, nah, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess this ties back to the sort of the ex-demons situation is like in relationships and sustainable relationships, in my opinion, is regardless, people are going to fuck up. I fuck
Yeah.
up in my relationships, my partners fuck up, but it's the confront to go, I fucked up. I did this rather than like hoping they never find out or
Yeah.
like
Mm,
just avoiding it, like, oh, I won't do it again anyways, so it doesn't
mm,
matter. It's like,
mm.
no, confront the situation and own that you did it. And that's because it's just nothing worse than when when I find out, oh my God, I can just think of some certain situations where just coward actions of just like, you
Yeah.
did that. You
Yeah.
did
I mean,
that.
look,
And
I've
I can
been
move
there
through it,
too.
but now I can't. Like, I
Mm.
can't. Now I'm so annoyed that you're still backpedaling.
I've been that. I've been that. I remember when I was young, one of my first long-term relationships, I was together with this person for 6 years, right? They were 10 years older than me. I was with them from when I was 17. I was a baby. I don't know what the hell I was doing.
Hmm.
And I cheated on them quite a few times. And I cheated like, because to be honest, I shouldn't have been in that relationship for that duration of time. Like I was way too young. It was a very controlling, possessive relationship. I needed to get out, but I couldn't. So I just kept creating scenarios where I would just cheat on the person. And then I would feel so
Uh,
bad and so guilty and then have to tell them the truth. But then they would like punish me. And it was like all sorts of weird things are going on. But in that relationship, I really struggled to just tell the truth in the exact way
mm,
that it happened because I felt like I wasn't willing to wear the consequences of what that would mean and blah blah blah. And then years later, I did this course called Personal Values and Integrity, where I learned how when you when you lie and you withhold information and you hurt people, actually you're hurting yourself the most. Like you're
uh-huh,
corrupting
uh-huh.
your own soul. You compromise your integrity. You're hurting yourself. And from that moment, it's really been like a high value for me to just confront it, no matter what I did. It doesn't matter like how fucked up the thing I did was. I have to be willing to really sit in it and wear it and take responsibility for it, even if it's embarrassing, it's humiliating, it's shameful, it's whatever. But if I did it, then I have to be willing to own it and wear it.
Oh, I've got a hot take one. There's one that I've been needing to fess up to.
Oh God.
Not to you, but just in
Oh,
real life. Before in a relationship, uh I've been sitting on this for a bit, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to. I know it's coming to the surface. I have to own this thing. Uh, when I was in a previous long-term relationship, near the tail end of it, though this person knew that I had explored with men, there was a couple sneaky times where I got on Grinder and explored without consent.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's an
Yeah.
interesting one as well, because even the language explored without consent. I know that at the time you were in the kind of relationship where it was, probably a different style of
Hmm.
relating,
Hmm.
but using words like that, like your partner has to give you consent over what
Hmm.
you do with your body with somebody else.
Hmm.
That's so outdated. Like I'm really trying to upgrade my way of thinking in relationships. Like I really want to be able to, this is just for me per se, I want to be able to be in a relationship with someone where they are absolutely free to do whatever they want whenever they want, but I just want to know. I
Hmm.
want to know. And we can have agreements for sure. And I
Hmm.
want to be able to know that I can trust the agreements that we make.
Hmm.
But it's not like you're only free if I let you. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's like just to double down on more my bad of like, I didn't communicate about it. and it wasn't actually I remember it wasn't on Grindr. It was I went to a couple cruises, and for people that don't know, a cruise is just like a place where gay, curious, whatever men that want to be with men just like hook up with no strings attached. Um, yeah, that like we were monogamous, and it was also like monogamy, like societal monogamy that maybe doesn't have a few more communication tools and whatnot. It's just like, regardless, monogamy is just like the only thing available in relationships, and that's all I knew at that time. But yeah, I had done that a few times, and yeah, I can't apologize to that person because that person doesn't want to talk to me. But like, just owning that and putting that out into the world, because I've never told anyone that up until this exact moment.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for
That's to balance out my calling everyone cowards, because I was cowardice too.
But that's the reason why we get so triggered about it. It's always that. Anyone who gets up on their high horse and is overly critical towards someone else is just like, and you have no integrity, and it's like, it doesn't take very long to look under a leaf in their backyard and find all their bullshit. That's how it works.
Yeah. But sometimes I just want to only be right and be on the pedestal, and I want to be toxic. Come on.
It's lonely up there, buddy. It's lonely. No, I get it.
So one of my favorite podcasts is one of the podcast people is a super fiery, just blames everyone, but it's so entertaining to me, and I just love it. And sometimes I'm like, wish I could just bring some of that energy to my work, but I just know my core values is just not that. But it's just so entertaining to me.
Well, polarity is fun. That's why those polarizing, like
polarizing.
We used to do that a lot on the internet. It's like
trying to have a moment of that before.
Sorry, I had to like burst your bubble and come in with the other side. But it's like, now it triggers me so much being polarizing. It triggers me like when I see people still in that like way of marketing where it's just like full this side or full that side, and saying these like really emphatic statements. I'm just like, ugh, I don't know. It just doesn't turn me on anymore. I think I'm just in a different place with it right now.
Well, that's a thing I'm somewhat still struggling with when it comes to like my brand and social media, and just even this podcast is like, I'm like, I want to go on this big rant about something, but then I just also see the other side, and I'm like, I'm just gonna shut up. And I'm like, what the fuck is the fun in that?
You're doing too much clearing. Fuck you,
yeah, I can see both sides of everything, and like, and I'm like, what's the point of saying anything? And I also get in a bit of a like, I feel like just everyone knows this already, that they know both sides, but then I go and listen and watch other things and they don't, and I'm like, oh, but it takes so long to explore both sides and get that really like engaging to share both sides. It takes so long. I don't have enough captions. First world problems of trying to be a fucking woke leader.
I'm too woke. I'll just not say anything.
I feel like that's what Buddhists and fucking all Youre and shit are all about. Is just like, 100%. What's the point of saying anything,
like I'm not
like saying things.
Yeah, I feel you. And but it's true though, it's like, I think the more wise you become, the less you feel you need to speak. I've seen that in my social media journey. I used to be fucking polarizing status update every day, raw vulnerable expression every fucking day on social media. I hardly do that now. Like my stories still, I get pretty raw, but there's a lot that goes on in my life that I just don't share anymore because I don't know. I don't feel like it's useful anymore. It's just like, doesn't feel like it's actually contributing anything really. So yeah. And, everything's all created on my social media feed now because I'm more concerned with the aesthetics and how it looks and is it art, that's like, I think actually that's interesting. I think my value is shifting from catharsis to art, which is very different. Like art can be cathartic, but to me, catharsis is quite selfish. It's about me and what I have to say and getting it off my chest. Whereas art is about communication, and communication is like a two-way flow, and there has to be a quality in it. Otherwise it's not art. So I think I see that my value shifting from like, this is what I need to say, to like, actually, this is for you. And how does it make you feel?
I believe with my rants, with my opinion pieces, with this, that, and this, usually in certain extents, especially when I can see myself starting to formulate something that I want to share in my head, is a like diversion. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a distraction from me actually creating something artistic, you know, because it's like, it's, to me, it's like the cheap wank rather than the self-pleasure session. It takes more
100%.
time and patience and listening and like care and processing to create beautiful pieces of art that are going to impact people and be relatable, where sometimes I know I can create something that's polarizing and something that's like strongly opinionated, that's going to resonate with people, but it's a bit cheap in for me. I know people are really good at it, and that's their way of being, and that has been my way of being, but for me right now it feels like a bit of a quick wank at the moment.
It's a quickie for sure. I like that. I like that analogy a lot. Definitely that hits. It's just like it's a quickie, and there's nothing wrong with quickies, but you just, if you're constantly, you know, just ejaculating all over the place, or just clitoral coming everywhere, without actually dropping in to nourish, to have a proper connected session, then, you know, there's not a lot of substance or depth in what you're doing.
Yeah, I think a bit of a formula that I've been like working on, which I don't always follow, like I don't always follow my self-care tools and whatnot, is like sometimes when those pieces want to come up, is like write it, get it down, and then go, how do I interpret that through art?
I like
Rather
that.
than going, no, don't do that, push it away, like you have to do art, that ends up I just do nothing. But if I allow myself to journey the piece and then go, I don't need to post that, but I can reinterpret it into art somehow.
Absolutely. Most of my songs are written from that process.
Yeah.
It's like me writing shit that I like started writing into Facebook or whatever, Instagram, and then halfway going, this isn't appropriate. I need to not share this right now. It's way too personal and unprocessed. And then leaving it in my notes, and then sitting down at the piano later and then continuing to write that song.
Okay. I need an art factory.
We do. Well, it's going to happen. Once I move in, that's it. We're just going to create our tits off.
Yeah. Look, don't tell Tim, but I feel like we need to get him to move in as well.
I agree. I really agree. I definitely agree. Look, we'll work it out. I gave my official notice, my 2 weeks notice. So got to start packing up my house again. Yeah, yesterday. Got to start packing up my house, organizing the moving situation, all of that biz, and then I'll be at Cult Mansion creating art. I'm so excited, which means Exorcism, the online ritual, is going to be at Cult Mansion.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. I'm very excited about that because it's going to be so beautiful. Like, it's frustrating that I can't do obviously live shows at the moment, but I know that I can still create something really magical and really special. So for those of you who are on the fence about it, get your friggin' ticket to Exorcism.
Yeah, do it. There's going to be some epic ritual and just big community vibes that I feel like people are really desiring. And, you know, if there's hundreds of people that have listened to this podcast, and obviously you've got bits and pieces, and I'm sure if you're listening and coming back that you're relating to some level, and that you have to have some ex-demon that's sitting there unprocessed, that I'm sure you will definitely get value from if you rock up to this.
100%. Definitely 100. Come on down. 100. It's $66.60. So it's like very, 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 very magical number.
Yes. And very affordable.
Highly affordable. Yeah. And if you have questions about it, obviously feel free to hit me up in the DMs, you know, slide right in, ask your questions, and I'll make sure you have what you need. Feels like that's a wrap. I have an
That's a
hour before my
wrap.
next coaching session. I got to go get some sex because it's important that I do that.
Gotta get some good juju happening. I gotta wee. That's my thing. I
All
really gotta
right.
wee. Probably take the dog for a run.
Well, thanks for being here with us. This was a very random episode, but I know that there's something in here that you needed today. So you found a gold.
Yeah, hit us up. Let us know what you needed today. Please subscribe to the YouTube, the SoundCloud, the Spotify, all the platforms. And just a little sneaky plug for me is, so this is coming out tomorrow, which is today, which is right now as you're listening for you. But Wednesday is the day. And then on Friday, my other podcast, Curious Conversations, is coming back, and for season 2, and the first few I've got 5 episodes ready, but it'll be 10 in a row, and just the first 5 for you that are listening, to give you a little sneak peek, is the first episode that's coming out is a conversation around disability and chronic illness, which you and I have lightly mentioned a few times across this podcast, of being a bit like in our talks of inclusivity and wanting to be someone that has the right language to make sure everyone feels like they can be a part of the conversation. That has been a weaker spot for myself, and you've mentioned for you that's somewhere you could build in. So this will be a place that you can come and learn from 3 of the guests who are either disabled or chronically ill in some way. And then there's another one with ALPHAMAMA, this person that is here with me now, and Burnham McLean.
Yes.
We're talking about around diversity of authenticity and how life is a performance, and how to be diverse and a disciplinary, how do you say the word? Artist.
A multidisciplinary artist.
Yeah. The next one will be with a few people that are queer and in personal development, in spirituality, and talking about bridging these 2 worlds rather than there being a separate world, and also how people have journeyed their queerness through spirituality. The next one is around the rewriting the narrative of motherhood. So people like ALPHAMAMA journeying conscious motherhood, looking at the societal dogmas around being a mum and balancing children and business. And then the 5th one is looking at the intersection between art and ritual. And I have one person that runs these really epic ritual-based theater performances, another that is a really well-known actor in South Africa who is in some really big movies, and manifests a lot of their work through spirituality and doing the work and creating ritual in their life. And another is a head facilitator at ISTA and Haydn, so the International School of Temple Arts, and Haydn is like a mystery school in New Zealand. So there's a lot of epic episodes coming out. So they're going to come out every Friday. So please subscribe to the platforms, because I needed this today, and Curious Conversations are coming out across the same Instagram, same Spotify, same SoundCloud, same YouTube. So subscribe, let us know what you needed today, and continue to help us fuel more topics.
Yeah. Also, maybe send us some suggestions of what you'd love us to talk about. That'd be really cool.
Yes, I'm sure there's things that we've already talked about that you want to hear more about, or things that are going on in the world that you feel like we might have a cool, interesting perspective on. That we're always open to suggestions.
Yep. All right, we love you. Tune into the next one.
Lots of love. Bye-bye.